My grandson Luke just turned 15, so he's getting ready to drive. Oh boy. That got me thinking about family cars and their names. My car now is Hank the Tank, but my favorite name of all time was Meebits. Meebits actually got Luke's grandpa his first computer in a very unexpected way. I'm Nancy from Legacy Carvers. I like to share old family stories and new tools to help us tell them in different ways, and I hope I can inspire you to find your family stories too. You know, when you're telling stories to kids, it's fun to add a little mystery, some intrigue, maybe a few surprising fun facts, especially the kind that make them go, wait, what? And today, it's all about some of our family's early encounters with personal computers. And for help getting those fun facts for those old tech tales, I'm turning to one of my favorite AI tools, Deep Research from ChatGPT. And you're probably wondering, how does Meebits fit into all of this? Well, I'll get to that in just a minute. Luke's grandpa and I both went to college in a little southern town, and we spent a lot of time on the college computer. To log in, we had to go to the college computer lab. We heard news about computers small enough to actually have at home, but they were incredibly expensive, almost as expensive as a car. Now, Luke's grandpa had a car, good old Meebits. Meebits was a Toyota, and actually, I have no idea where the name Meebits came from. Anyway, one day Meebits got into an accident. The insurance adjuster used words like totaled and write-off. In car speak, this means funeral. When that insurance check came in, Luke's grandpa got to looking at it. He was 18 years old, and it was probably $1,500. And when would he ever see that much cash all at once again? Well, unless you count Monopoly night with the family. And who really needed a car in this tiny town anyway? He just couldn't stand it. He took that check and he bought himself a brand new Apple II computer. And he brought that beauty right into his dorm room. He was so proud. But the dean of men, well, he kind of flipped out. This was a very religious school, no TVs allowed in the dorms, and it took a lot of explaining to get the dean to understand that the monitor on that computer was not a TV. Even after that, I don't think he really understood what it did. He actually asked Luke's grandpa if he would unplug it at night, to keep it from waking up and taking over. Meanwhile, over at my first job, we got one of these. It's a Commodore PET, and my assignment was to take this beauty home and evaluate whether it was useful enough to install in the dye lab where I work. So I carefully carried it to my car. I had it in my arms, and I was walking over there, and I was a young thing, and I was strong. And then I promptly dropped it on the pavement just short of the passenger door. And I almost had a heart attack right there in the parking lot. I picked it up, and the frame at the corner was just all pulled apart. I looked over my shoulder, and I saw that my manager was following me out, so I quickly grabbed my coat and tossed it on top of the whole mess before he could see the damage. Fortunately, when I got home, I managed to just kind of ease the frame back into place. Don't ask me how, but it stayed. Nothing was broken. So those are a couple of our early personal computer stories. Fun, right? Oddly, I don't think we ever named any of our computers, just our cars. I wonder why. Anyway, beyond our own mishaps, I thought Luke would enjoy some surprising tech history too, and I wanted to see if I could add a little more historical flavor, those surprising fun facts that he loves, and that's where these deep research tools can help. Right now, there are a lot of different deep research tools to choose from. You can go to Perplexity, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, and there's an interesting new one I've been hearing about lately called GenSpark. It's a little hard to keep track of all the choices. I'm going to use ChatGPT today. It's one that I'm used to and comfortable with. So here I am inside of ChatGPT. Now what I want is a set of fun, lesser-known stories about early personal computers for a teenager. But is that a very good prompt? Sometimes I use simple prompts like that, and sometimes I spend a lot of time trying to make them really detailed, but honestly, I often feel like my prompts are just a little bit lacking. So I'm going to go see if there's a GPT out there to help me. Let's go over here. On the left side of the screen, you've got a menu, and we'll select GPTs. Now, up here in the search box, we can search for different kinds of GPTs. Let's type deep research and see what comes up. Here's one called Deep Research Prompt Writing Expert. It's from Community Builder, and it looks like a lot of people use this one, so let's choose that. Now let's paste my little prompt into it and see what it does. Fun, lesser-known stories about early personal computers for a teenager. Wow. It gave me a really detailed prompt. This is almost like an essay. Okay, it's saying to leave out some of the common computer stories that always get told, like things about Bill Gates and so forth. That's good. I don't want the ones that Luke has probably already heard. And it's explaining how to format the output. That's a good idea. I like that. All right. Let's copy this, and then let's make a new ChatGPT window, and let's paste it in there. And then if you click this telescope down here, that's the deep research button inside of ChatGPT that says to use deep research. Okay, it's asking a couple of questions. Let me answer those really quick. All right, now it's going to go do its deep research, and it's going to take a few minutes. While it's running, I'm going to text Luke because, funny thing, his grandpa's visiting him right now, so I can see if he can find out where that name Meebits came from. Well, he says Grandpa's asleep, so he can't find out until later. But he is still laughing about the idea of unplugging the Apple computer at night. Maybe I shouldn't have told him that part. Let's check back in and see if my report is finished. Now, a quick disclaimer. AI can be a fantastic starting point, but always double-check the sources and facts that it provides before you run with them, because it gets a lot of things right, and it's getting better at it all the time. But you want to make sure, because sometimes these AI tools get a little overconfident. It's kind of like some of Luke's friends on their skateboards. It just gets going a little fast and gets some things wrong. Okay, so what did it find? For the grandpa story about the Dean of Men thinking the computer would take over, listen to this. Apparently in 1983, after President Ronald Reagan watched the movie War Games, with Matthew Broderick as a young hacker, he was so struck by it that he asked his national security team, could something like that really happen? Could someone hack our defense computers? And that question actually led to an investigation and the drafting of the very first national policy on computer security. Wonder if Luke has seen that movie. For my dropped Commodore pet, well, the AI found a story about the Apple III, which came out next after the Apple II series. It was designed to be beautiful and silent, which meant no cooling fan and no air vents. Does that seem smart? So apparently these machines overheated, go figure. So the chips inside would expand when they got hot and contract when they cooled down, and I guess they would warp. And this caused something called chip creep. The chips would actually walk themselves out of their sockets, and the official technical support was this. If your Apple III was acting up, you were told to lift the front about 3 inches off your desk and then just drop it. And the shock was supposed to reseat the chips. I dropped my Commodore PET by accident, but for these, the folks are saying, drop your computer in the instruction manual. There are some other really fun facts in here, too. If I were a computer science teacher in school, I would have a good time with these. Well, these are a good start. I'll go through the list and pick a couple more and package these up with a title like Surprising Things You Didn't Know About Computers Back in the 80s. So, how about you? Do you have any old tech tales? When you were a kid, would you have traded a car for a computer? Did you ever name your car? Tell me your best story in the comments. And bonus points if it includes sparks, smoke, or sibling sabotage. Something that your kids or grandkids would enjoy hearing. I'll put links to the deep research prompt writing GPT and some of the general AI research tools down in the show notes if you want to try them out for your own family stories. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on Legacy Carvers. Bye.